Thank you for coming today, Coach. Um, I want to I want you to introduce yourself to the world, Coach.
To the world.
To the world. To the rest of the world.
Roger Dickens, Baltimore City. What else you want to know about me?
Um, how long you been coaching? Your tenure?
I coached 25 years at Baltimore City Community College. Head coach and Tony Carter assistant. Pat McKinley now called Rasul was another one of my assistants.
Okay. So I know some of your story, Coach, from being around and being from Baltimore, playing under you for a little while. And a lot of other people know it. But like I said, we want to get to as many people as we can to reach the story because, to me and to a lot of others, you're a legend. To some of the schools, also they granted you that they seen you as a legend as well. So we just paying our homage. I appreciate the time that I had with you. I thank you for coaching me and helping me as a young man. I came to you as a man. I was 21, and you guided me through a lot of my ups and downs. Some of them, this was your regular way of doing things, but you did help me go through some things. It was one time, it was a situation that we had that was personal that you helped me through, but a lot of things kind of, like I said, off the cuff. So I appreciate you and I want to thank you for that. I want to go into some of your early playing when you was young, Raj. You know,
Okay, before we get to some of that, I just want to say this. Whatever I did, I was only doing what I knew to do. And when we were coaching, we were only doing what was done for us. As we came up at different time from you, Baltimore was a sweet place. And there was a lot of people in our corners to give us help in whichever way we needed it. So when we came up and got to that point, it was almost like, your duty or your responsibility to reach back and to help anybody that you could. So if I did something to help you, I'm thankful and grateful for, whatever feelings or whatever things that transpired.
thank you, Coach. Let's go into some of your young days before all of the great things that you done when you was just a little scrub running around. I wanted to know when did you fall in love with the game? How early? When is your earliest recollection of walking on a basketball court or outside on the basketball court, and then you fell in love with it?
Well, I fell in love with it kind of early. I was in the alley outside of my house. I must have been somewhere around 12, 13 years old when I really fell in love because growing up in the inner city in those days, when I was coming up, we played everything. We played football, we played baseball, all the games in the street, from skating to doing everything else. Block ball, we played everything. So it was some point around 12, 13 where basketball kind of kicked in the alley. Now, I know y'all know Brian Matthews' brother I played with at Towson University, but we actually started playing basketball together.
In the alley.
In the alley. And within that day, we would play all three sports. Be on the lot playing baseball, we hit a little football in the street, and then we would hit the alley. Then we would end up leaving out of the alley together, going to Cecil. And the first team I played at Cecil was baseball. He and I were in the outfield. And we moved on to 12-14 basketball at Cecil. And we played at St. Anne's. St. Anne's, Cecil, Greenmount, 74, it's all the same thing. Cecil was the first place that had the indoor court. So everybody from the whole section migrated to Cecil. So for years, we went to the basketball court together and we came home together. I really didn't go without him. He didn't go without me. And we left together every day in the dark. With that one light over there still shooting and couldn't leave until you made your last shot. We was on the 12-14 team together, and we both were on the bench. We came off the bench. And that was my first introduction really to organized ball.
Where were you playing at?
Playing for St. Anne's, but that's, Cecil Rec.
Okay.
But the other thing I got to mention, before that, my father had a barber shop on Greenmount Avenue. And I shined shoes and did all that stuff on Greenmount Avenue. And Greenmount Rec was up the street. And in the old days, Greenmount Rec was the Mecca. Most of Dunbar's players played up there. We just had a whole slew of guys. Jimmy Carr, Artie Dorsey, all these guys were greats. And I mean greats. Much better than my era, and definitely better than the younger kids coming out today. I don't remember these guys missing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good they was. I mean, they didn't miss. They were shooting 90% from the floor. And I was up there one year, and I was just in the background, in the playground playing ball. And I had developed skills, but I didn't know the game. Artie Dorsey saw me, grabbed me up, brought me sodas and cakes the rest of the day, and put me on his club. I had never played no organized basketball in my life. So we got out there on the court, and I was a bust. Because I didn't know nothing about 3 seconds, how to line up or do any of those things. And that was my first experience. After that, I went on back to Cecil. And that's when I played the 12-14 for St. Anne's on a team, practicing and learning, about the game and how things go. And that's it. So I did that all the way up until college.
Okay.
No high school.
Okay. So, some of us have it, some of us don't. So coming up, when you were young, coming up as a young man, before you probably, or maybe high school, but before college, definitely. Who would you say would have been your sensei? That coach that pulled you in, that got you right, that worked with you, that spent the time with you, that sacrificed, or maybe you didn't have one.
Well, again, it was too many people, because in those days, all of the older guys looked out for the younger guys. I mean, I could sit here half the night and name some old guys that took me under their wings, just took a liking to me. Charlie Thomas, for one. I don't know if you know the word Thomas, but he played for me when I had Jug and some other guys there. But Charlie Thomas was the son of Dunbar, and he came out in the early 60s. Might have been 67, 68, somewhere around there. But he was this big man. But he was a superstar in East Baltimore, and he took a liking to me. Wally Buford was, I guess, one of my biggest mentors, who ran our rec, who made it a safe place for us to play. Also, he started taking us around the city to play and taught us how to conduct ourselves and protect ourselves outside of the neighborhood. We had Rutland Rec one time, and the lights go out because people say, put your backs on the wall. Nobody can get behind you, and you just deal with what's in front of you. Those are the kind of life lessons that he taught. And he was a powerful dude, and there was Mr. Scott, who ran St. Anne's. Miss Dorothy, who worked with him, who transported us to all our games. There was Senator Bob Douglas. Back in those days, the senator and the councilman lived in our neighborhoods. So they had programs. I played with Mon Tigers. So, I mean, so many people played a part in your early development as a person, as a child, as a growing into a young man, and as a basketball player.
Okay. I read a story where it said that in high school you got cut. So, we all know, well, most of us know about the story about Michael Jordan getting cut out. I know about some of the great things that you did after that. Take us through that. Tell us how that was. How did that make you feel? You know, did you have the pressure? Were you, take us through that, coach.
Well, the bottom line is you got cut. I went to all boys school, and there was a lot of guys trying out. And at City, in those days, a lot of the guys that played basketball were either baseball players or football players. The coach at that time was really a baseball guy. And if you didn't get somebody to put a word in for you, you know, you could easily get overlooked by so many people. And I was hard-headed. I learned a lesson because I didn't want nobody to speak up for me. I wanted to show what I could do. And then I learned then that it ain't, sometimes what you know is who you know.
Okay, and that was at what?
That was a City in 11th grade. I was on the last cut. Myself, a guy named Michael Dabney, and you remember Big Cleveland Rudersill, Big Rudy, that played for University of Baltimore?
Not quite, but we're gonna check him out. We're gonna look at
6'9" John. He's passed away, but he was, you know, we all was on that last cut.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So Big Rudy got the spot.
No, he got cut. Michael Daniel was 6'7". He got cut. I got cut, and Larry Carabine. We were the four on the last cut.
Okay, so who got the last spot then?
I don't know who got the last spot. I don't, you know, that really didn't matter.
Okay.
What happened after that is City went to play DeMatha. And Loopy Lyles, well, Gary Lyles, his name, was the guy that I looked up to, and I copied a lot of stuff from. He fouled out, had foul trouble. And they couldn't get the ball up the court with him out of the game. Mm-hmm. So whoever got the last spot didn't even matter.
Right.
But without him, they couldn't get the ball court. So instead of coming back to get me or Larry Carabine, they moved Gerald Watson up from JV. And Gerald Watson was a guy from my neighborhood, but he was younger, you know, maybe in the 10th grade, you know. And they brought him up from JV, and he played 3 years of varsity. He also was at UB when I was at Towson, you know, so. But he, to me, in the neighborhood, he, you know, I'm 12, 14, he's 10, 12.
Right, that's your little fella.
Not a little fella. So, you know, when I got to college and I got the chance to play against all those high school guys all over the city, it was personal.
Told to them.
I did the best I could. You know, but it was personal because, you know, growing up in the 70s, if you didn't play high school ball, you didn't have no clout. I played on several teams, BNBL, and I would play all year long. And then they get to the playoffs, I found my way to the bench. 73, I played with Cloverdale. And with Al, Tomlin, Gerald Watson, Box, and myself. We get down to the series on the top big game, I'm benched. I played on a team in West Baltimore back captain, was it Champ? I can't remember the name, but West Baltimore guys ran this. And we playing Bernard King in New York, up at CCB. Darryl Lilly and myself in the backcourt, we killed him. And then he switched up and brought in Petey Butler because he had a name. And things kind of fell apart. Don't mean to call you out, Petey, rest in peace. But then there was another time over Cloverdale playing with Fat Murdoch. Played all year long, 17 under. Great team. Get down to Madison. I'm coming home to East Baltimore. Then play the playoffs, and I'm benched again. And each time that this happened, I was benched for the guys that played high school ball. So when I got the opportunity to match up against them in college, whether it was at CCB or Towson, I took it a little personal to try to, you know, get them back and let folks know that wasn't supposed to be like that.
So the time that they was benching you, this was between the 11th and the 12th grade? when you was playing in the BBLs and the
Yeah,
different things around
right.
town, come back and close it out. That was the summertime?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay. Okay, so when you had got cut, it was in the 11th grade, but you didn't play the 12th either?
I didn't even try out
Okay.
12th grade.
Okay.
By that time, you know, let's see. Also, in City, I was in the marching band because I played the trumpet. So, 10th grade, 11th grade, I'm in marching band. 12th grade, I'm trying. 10th grade, I'm trying out. 11th grade, I'm trying out. 12th grade, I quit the band. Didn't try out for the basketball team. I'm growing up and I'm in a new kind of attitude. Maybe I didn't care about that no more, but I kept playing. You know, but school ball didn't mean as much. I guess I was pissed. I don't know. Who knows? What you go through when you're young and what you're thinking about. But I didn't even try out. You know, I found out it was unfair, whatever. Heck with it. And I wasn't going to school. But by that time, I had followed Loopy, Gary Lyles, up to CCB. And Coach Carter, my man, was already up there.
Mm-hmm.
So that became my hangout. And I was up there playing with them in the gym. And this coach came in, Coach Phipps. He saw me playing, he saw my skill set, and asked me was I in school or did I want to be.
Hold up, Coach. Let me cut you off, please, Coach.
Yeah.
Please, what year was this?
This is in 73.
In 73. Okay, let me just say this. I graduated in the year 2000. And you said, and in the year 2000, I learned that, you know, during a visit one time coming that sometimes they use BCC as a hangout.
Uh-huh.
So even in the 70s, they was doing the same thing?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I got to say yes. But it was a hangout for me because of basketball and following Gary Lyles, meeting Tony Carter, and the whole scene. You know, so I spent a lot of time up there. And so when school started that year after I had graduated, and he gave me an opportunity, I just came on in. You know.
Okay.
And it worked up a whole new world for me. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's go back a little bit. In this early 70s. Well, no, you said 77. So
No, that was the early 70s. It was 73.
okay. So how was it like in the early 70s growing up in East Baltimore?
It's a lovely place. That's all I can tell you. Baltimore has always had pockets of people, you know. But if you played sports, and we had recreation departments, recreation centers all over the city, you could connect with people all over the city, and then you could go anywhere and, you know, be all right. So basketball was my pass,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I could play. I went to Booker T, although I lived in East Baltimore. So I knew the fellas over there, John Nigger Howe, Christmas Addicts, and all that type of stuff. And then, you know, being able to play, you could go down to Bottom, to Lafayette, Chickweb, you know, those places. So basketball could just get you around, you know, and we went everywhere, all over the city, just playing ball. And if you knew folks, that's so-and-so, yeah, all right, mess with that. You know, that's how it went.
Right.
Coach Carter was out there in Cherry Hill, and he ran Cherry Hill. So I'm like in Cherry Hill, like I live there. That's how I was welcomed and treated, you know, during that time, you know. So, I mean, basketball was a beautiful thing. It remained that way for a while. But the recreation centers were very important to the city itself. You knew what guys were doing. You know, we could have been doing a whole lot of other things. And some of us did some other things. I mean, everybody didn't walk that road. You know, we all have skeletons in our closets. But for the most part, basketball was our mainstay, and we focused on that. and it kept us, going in certain directions.
Okay. Moving on, you went on from getting cut from the team at high school, so not playing high school at all, and moving on to two JUCO championships.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Great time. First of all, I had a great coach, and he made basketball easy. And if you knew your job, what you're supposed to do, that's all you had to be concerned with. Because he made sure everybody did their job. And he put the piece together, and then we had chemistry, and we could go. That's how I tried to coach it. But my first year, I was like a six man. I thought I was better than the guy that was ahead of me. He was a year ahead of me. But he played better defense individually on the ball than I did. But he didn't have an outside shot. And I used to come in the ball game and get things going. And this is before Magic Johnson. At TCB, it's funny. But when I would come in the game, they would holler showtime. Because of the style that I played, of handling the ball, tricks, and things of that nature. I didn't look at them as tricks and wasn't even trying to do tricks. It was just my natural thing. But, so I came off the bench that first year. But I had a good year. I was fourth leading scorer. And I didn't start the games, but I finished them. And then I came back the next year. Of course, I started. And 75, we won the Maryland JUCO. We won the region. We won everything. And I got MVP of the region. And the lights was on after that. I had arrived. It's a ball play in Baltimore City.
So, how many times did you get or how many matchups can you remember right now that you had against those guys that wound up, being on the high school circuit from Baltimore while you at BCC?
Well, I caught some of them at the community college level, and then I caught some at the 4-year level. I mean, UB was the big one because Kenny Sullivan was everything in high school, coming out of Emerson. And one year we played them. We were number one in the nation at that time too, Tyson. UB was like number 3 in the nation. Their record was 26-4. The only 4 games they lost in the country was to us. That's how good they were, and that's how good we were. So basketball was really at a high level at that time, and that's why it's still talked about so much today. We played 5 times, and they won 1, and we won, 4 out of the 5. But I don't know how many times I ran across those guys. But after we got to a certain level, there was a separation.
Second year, sophomore year?
Yeah, it was separation. I look at it this way. Everybody peaks at different stages and different times. Maybe I wasn't good enough at that point. But the right coach would have been able to see the potential that I had or where I could go. And, it was just my time, the way things happen. I guess everything happens in its time. You can look at your own life on how things went on, when you matured and when you saw the light to do things differently. So time just ran its course.
Okay. So you excelled past those guys, or it was a turning point in your mind that it said, it's time for me to step it up?
I don't never remember saying it's time for me to do anything. I just did what I do. And that was the results. The results was I had excelled past some of those guys.
Okay.
But, that's a hard call. I just know that in my mind, I want to let folks know that I was just as good or better than some of the guys that always got the nod versus me not getting a nod. And this was big. I did 2 years at community college, and then I sat out a year before I went to Towson. And in that year I sat out, I played with Burris All Stars, like a semi-pro team. And it was good. I mean, I'd already got MVP of the JUCO, the region, all that, but now I'm playing with grown men everywhere, all the time, much older and much more experienced. And I was getting it in. I was scoring 30s and 40s on the regular. And then we went to the Dundalk tournament, where Burris All Stars brought in John Lucas, Mo Howe. Well, Darrell Brown was already playing with us. He was about 6'8", 300 pounds out of Maryland. From Maryland he could play. And Joe Pace. And now we're in the Dundalk tournament. And I'm thinking in my mind that I'm going back to the bench now with all these superstars coming in. But Jerome Bragg was the coach, and I was his man all year long, so he was riding with me. So he started me with them. And I led that tournament scoring. And then we tried to get to the University of Maryland. But Lefty was busy that night because we knew the skill set I had, if I had gotten the opportunity to do it at a certain market, my road to where I wanted to get to would have been easier. But Lefty was tied up that day, and, he didn't have time to stay. As a matter of fact, Marvin Webster, Jerome Berry, and myself rode down to College Park to see Lefty. But it didn't work out, so I went on a toss with my boys. And, it took, but, what was going to happen happened from that.
Okay. Went on to Towson. 2 years, 1,000 points. But the one thing about it, back then it wasn't any three-pointers. So all twos and ones, twos and free throws.
Yeah.
Take us through that time. You took the year off, you came back, you felt like you was ready. Take us through that Towson, that first year at Towson.
Well, it's funny, we did a lot of talking in the basement about our plan of how we want this Towson thing to work. And I talked with my brother a lot. So the plan was to go up there and get Pat McKinley drafted the first year because he was already there, he was coming out. And that worked. And then the plan was for Brian Matthews and myself to come out the next year and for us to get our shot. So we went to Towson and we did our thing. We were 27-3 first year and 26-4, I think, the second year. So we lost maybe 7 games, I think. I think that's correct. And we got all kind of honors. And from that, Brian Matthews and myself were invited to the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament. I don't even know if they still have it. But in the old days, we didn't have the G League and all those things that they have today. And the PIT tournament was a tournament that the 60 best college players came to for all the scouts to see. And that's how you get your draft and all that. But they had never heard of Towson. They couldn't even pronounce it at that time. So Brian and I go there, and they put us on different teams. Everybody else that came, if you came with a teammate, you played on the same team. The big names back then were Billy Ray Bates, Mark Alvarone, if you remember him. Matter of fact, we were on the team together, him and Dave Kessler. Gerald Henderson, who played for the Boston Celtics, he was there, but he was on a different team. We played against him. And there was a lot of names back then in that time, 1978. But we were in the top 60. So for us, with no name, coming from we came a long way. And Baltimore was always overlooked anyway. We were always second-class citizens. It was always Philadelphia, D.C., and New York They didn't even pay us no mind. So for us to get to that point was even good.
Hold up, coach. All right, go ahead.
So my first night playing in Portsmouth, Towson had no name and no recognition. I'm a point guard. So since they hadn't heard of Towson, we had no respect. So they started a forward from a big school in place of me at the guard. But he couldn't handle it, because, he didn't have that skill set. I came off the bench. I shot 16 for 18 from the floor. Took over the point guard duties, ran the floor and scored. I missed 2 shots. And in them old days, it was an old gym, and they had wooden chairs with all the pro scouts sitting around the wall. And I kid you not, I saw the pro scouts fall out of their chairs to their knees because I just wasn't missing. The next morning, the papers read, Dickens dazzles PIT field. His chances of going to NBA, Casey Jones said, from going nowhere to somewhere. I called home and Romy told me, come on home, don't show him no more. Right? So, I'm laughing and, I'm happy, excited. I got where I wanted to be, and I just showed the people who I was supposed to show what I wanted to show them. So I start the rest of the tournament, and we win the tournament. And that's really one of the big forces that I think got me drafted. But the downfall was the Washington Bullets had just won the World Championship in 1978. And they drafted me in the 5th round. I think I was the 4th player that they chose. Back then, the NBA had like 13 rounds of draft. And they really didn't change nothing that they had. And they brought in people with the first round picks we already was going to be on the team. So I was really a geographical, political draft. Not a draft that they think he's coming in to help our club. He's coming in because of the name and the recognition he has in this area. Washington is in this area, so they had to draft me. That's the way I see it. Because I played with them in the Urban Coalition, which I was familiar with. I had been playing in that league a little while. And I was getting off. I was scoring well, I was handling the ball, and I was scoring big numbers. 20s and 30s. Bob Fry was the general manager at that time. And I just finished turning the gym out. And we walking out of the Urban Coalition League, and he's telling me that I can't score like that in the NBA. And in my mind, I'm like, the goal's different, the rims or something. Why can't I score like that? But this is all new to me because I had no grooming or training for this next level. So I'm not saying to him too much about, what you mean I can't score? I'm kind of listening and trying to figure this thing out. And what I realized later on, he was trying to tell me basically was, we don't want you to shoot, because back then point guards didn't shoot. They just ran the game, the floor, and set people up to shoot. And we just want you to do this. That's what he should have told me. That maybe I could have just facilitated and showed that side of my game. But that let me know really they weren't really interested in the way I was treated in camp versus the way other players were treated when they came in. Also let me know that they're not really interested in you. So at that point, it's time to move on. We didn't have a G League and all those other things. They had a CBA league back then. They might have gave you $15 or $20 a game, and you probably had to take care of your own transportation, getting to Pennsylvania or wherever it may have been, and all that. And so I kind of moved on. That's when I ended up landing a spot at CCB to be an assistant coach, and then I ended up moving into head coach 1 year later.
Okay, so your first year coaching was the first year following playing?
No. I was out there for a little bit still playing. And then Coach Phipps called me in. And when he called me in, The very year he brought me in, he left. I think that was in 81, 82, 81. But I didn't get a chance to coach with him. He left. Coach Oppenheimer took over the basketball program. I was his assistant for 1 year. And then he went on to just coaching baseball and athletic director. And I took over the basketball program. So I didn't get the training I really wanted from Coach Phipps, but I had gotten the training from him because, point guard is the coach on the floor. So with all the teachers I got from him through life and just that and the other, I just took that and put that into me and did it my way. You played for me. I wasn't a conventional coach. I don't think I was like most coaches. I had a different player. I felt like I was more of a player's coach. And if a guy has skills to do certain things, I tried to let him do what he could do. And the joy was to take whatever I had and find a chemistry or a way to make them be effective or successful. And we didn't always win the championship, but we always played hard. We had fun. My guys grew. And mentally, I think they grew to the fact of knowing about other things in life and things that they needed to do to move on in their life. Everybody wasn't going to graduate and get this degree and go this way, but they was going to get enough about education and life while they were here dealing with us that they could be successful in life.
I definitely can agree to that.
Yeah. See, everybody's road is different in life, man. And everybody's not going to follow this line. And nowadays, they didn't change the lines about how you accomplish success and be successful in life. So, my thing was to be able to get people from A to B. Some guys came into school and couldn't even read and write at all. So, they learned how to read and write. They could fill out an application. They could go get jobs now. So everything was different. And some went on to excel. I mean, we got principals, we got doctors, policemen with careers. I mean, CEOs. We got everything within our family of Red Devils. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I love about our family of Red Devils is that nobody looks down on nobody. We all care for each other, look out for each other, and if you can help, you help. But everybody's road is different, and some of us are down. The only thing we can do is pull you up, or pray for you. So that's the thing that I liked about the whole situation.
Okay, describe well, it sounds like it, but I don't know. I want to ask you directly. What would be, what coach would you say shaped your coaching philosophy or your coaching style the most?
I don't think none did. To be honest, I mean, if any, I guess it had to be Jerry Phipps, a guy who I first played organized ball for. If there was one that shaped it, but and that was team ball. I played and I had accolades, but I didn't play for accolades. I played to win. Didn't make no difference who scored or who did what, as long as it got done. When I was at Towson, I was the one who had to get certain things done. But when I came back home and I played on my teams with Cecil Rec, growing up 35 and old and all that, with guys like Tony Carter, Brian Matthews, Pat McKinley, myself, or whoever it may have been. Here I am, All-American. But on this team right now, I might score 6 points a day. I might get 4. I was handling the ball doing this, and Tony might got 30. Brian might have this. Next game, I might have 30. So when we played, we didn't really care who got what. So we was playing to win, And that's why I go back to Coach Phipps, because he didn't have no stars on his team. We ran sets and we played fast and we played D and we looked for the best shot we could get. And that's what I try to do when I coach. And so I would say if there's one coach that really had that much influence or impact, it probably would have been him.
Okay, so I think you would agree you coach about 90% of Baltimore kids or Baltimore young men.
Mm-hmm.
In Baltimore, they have what they call, you played yourself, they have what they call the Baltimore grit. When you hear that, what do you think of?
Just what you said. Guys that sacrifice their bodies and they come out and give all that they have, while they're on the floor. As a coach, that's what I look for. That's all I want. And when you got those kind of guys, you can't lose. Even if you don't win that game, you can't lose. And I guess sometimes the guys didn't understand that, because the object is to win the game. But we were winning. We believed. We had a philosophy, we had a thought, a feeling. And then we went out there, and me as a coach and my guys fought as hard as they could and did the best within their capabilities to win. Then I was satisfied with them. I never would tell them that, because we're still striving to be better. But there were years where I had teams where I knew that we weren't going to be champs. But for me, to find a way to make this group successful, to make them relevant, to have a chemistry to compete, was the challenge. They had other schools that recruited heavily, had campus for kids to stay on, and we give them money. And they were bigger than us. Some of them had better athletes, but none had bigger hearts than us. We would go up to Allegheny and play against them monsters, and they'd be up there crying because we were too rough. And we down here. They had a 127 game home win streak. We went up there with a team with a guy in the middle of 6'3". Another guy beside him playing point forward who was 6'3". Then we had a 6'1" forward beside him. Donnell Sneed was the center. Marlon Collins was the point forward, who was really a guard. And Thomas Hamilton, we call Poopy, was the small forward at like 6'1", 155 pounds maybe. Then they had Brian Brooks and Gloves. They had Hextall, I think was his name. And we knocked them off, 96, 93. They came out and tried to press us, and we got all guards. And we could shoot. And they hard. They could rebound them, And we knocked them off 96, 93 and broke that home streak. But it didn't always go that way, and we beat them before. But that's the one thing, a trademark about the Baltimore kids. They're going to come and they're going to give you everything they got. They're going to play hard. And when somebody give you all they got, you can't ask for no more. Well, you know yourself, you played, and Coach just spoke about you. I said, I'm over here with George. I didn't call your name. I said, Chick. Mm-hmm. And couldn't even remember your name. All I can remember was Chick. And see, I just came to me. He said, who, 24/7? Because you was always ready. 24/7. This kid can come and give you all he got. He gonna play hard. And sometimes all you need is one or two of those kind of guys that can spark your whole team and set the tone. And then when you get blessed to have a few of them, oh, you really get ready to have some fun.
You're blessed.
Yeah. We played over Union one year. And we had a good club. I ain't gonna call no names. But one guy, a little guy, fell out on the floor. You know, got knocked down or something like that. And his own team was like, hey, get up. You embarrassing us. You know. Everybody else in the gym run over to see us. He, all right, just that, no. And his own players was like, you know, because they hard. You know, you ain't hurt. We don't show no pain. Get up. You know. And I just laughed. You know, I looked at him. I remember playing out at Morgan. We were playing Morgan. And something broke out on the basketball court. We at Morgan. And they getting ready to square off and fight. Now, Morgan's players are 6'9", they're all kind of big, but they're from all over the country. They didn't have what we had. We had unity. And that was our word, I don't know if you remember. But every day in the practice, we put hands in and we say unity. And I did that for years. But this early in the year, we scrimmaged in Morgan, and something broke out on the basketball court, and my whole team rushed out there to fight, to back up, you know, their teammates. And I looked over the coach, and I'm laughing to myself. I said, we're going to be all right this year. You know, because they showed the unity, they showed the fight, and they showed the togetherness. And when you got those ingredients like that in your team, you know, we're going to be all right, you know. So that's all I did. I looked over. I ain't run out there and say, can y'all get back, this, that, that, you know. I said, Coach, we're going to be all right this year, you know. So, yeah, we had a lot of fun. A lot of fun doing what we did.
What makes a player coachable for you, Coach?
What makes a player coachable? Well, a player got to want to be coached. You know, he got to want to be good. He got to want to be better, you know, and he got to be willing to listen. You know, we were older. We were still playing ball at that time. Where he's at now, we already been there and passed. So we trying to get you there. So you just got to listen, and you ain't always got to do what the coach say. But you got to give him that respect. You got to listen, and you got to make him think that you're going to do what he say. Because I know myself, I came up and I played sometimes against, for coaches that I thought I knew more than they did. I had to respect the position. You know, he the coach. You know, you say, yeah. The game is played fast. So sometimes you get out there on the floor, you got to react and do stuff. So you may not react and do what he said, but you have to do what the game calls you or make you do. And, you know, so kid just got to have a good attitude and want to be better. And he got to want to be there. He got to want it, you know. If he don't want it, then, you know, we don't really want him. You know, because there's nothing you can do if it's not in you to want this. And he don't have to have it, but he got to want it. If he wants it, we already got it. We can get it in you if you want it. But if you don't want it, you might as well go on and do something else.
Okay. With all of the teams that you had, all of the players, we had some streak breaking players. We had some championship years. Who was Coach Dickens' all time?
Oh Lord,
top 5 Red Devil squad.
I can't even.
You gotta give me 5 from all over.
I can't do
It
that.
can't be the same 5 that won the championship. It can't be the same 5 that broke the streak. You got this player, was your point. You're gonna take him, he the top. This was my top big man. He was from 75. He was from 91. He was from 84.
Can't do it. can't even begin to do it. You know, because I had a few really great point guards. And then I had a few guys that played point that really effective and did good jobs. I had a couple of good big men, and then we had a lot of tweeners. And that's just like trying to figure out who to go between Michael Jordan and LeBron. Of course, I'm going to go Michael Jordan all day long. It's my generation. But it's unfair to try to choose the different areas. But Big Sam was one of my most dominant big men. This was a kid really that had that potential to go to big time basketball.
And what year was Big Sam?
He was my second year of coaching. And I'm in Cecil, my home rec. So, back then, I'm still playing ball. I'm stepping towards half court, letting me go. And that's where I met him in my gym. And he was a big old country kid. And, of course we matched up. But he in there, and I'm out here. So he ain't had no chance. He couldn't beat me that way. But I seen the signs on him. I wanted to know was in school or this, that, or the other. And at the time, he hadn't been to college, hadn't even finished high school. So I got him in school and helped him get eligible to even play basketball. And he played for me for 2 years. And then I got him a scholarship down at Allen University in South Carolina. But had he had some different education credentials, he could have been at a Wake Forest or somewhere like that. He had made that much noise in the JUCO, but he didn't have that other things that he needed to, at that time, to go to those places. So he ended up playing around Baltimore when he came home, and he played in Urban Coalition with Muggsy and all those guys, Ernie Graham and them. And he was a big man for them over in Urban Coalition. So he did his thing. So I got to say he was probably my most dominant player. But other than that, I couldn't begin to start an all-time five. I had a point guard that none of you even know, named Dorian Chapman. He's deceased now. But Dorian was the closest thing to me, him and Marlon Quillins, at playing a point position with that skill set to be able to break a press by themselves when they say the rule says pass against the press. But these two guys had the skill set that they could go through that thing themselves. So they were the two that had that extraordinary skill set at the point position, But I had so many good ones that I couldn't break it down. It'd be so unfair, And the key was, like I said again, finding the chemistry in what you had. And Baltimore's always been a guard town, so we had a million guards. We had guards playing forward. You played point and you played forward,
right?
If I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you was all over the floor. So I couldn't.
Okay.
How about Coach Phipps?
Yeah, talking about when you got to the Metro.
Yeah, we knocked him off, and then we played him again later that year. And we played at CCB. And he knocked us off at CCB, Essex. So, how we used to have the cheers lined up after the game where the coaches and the players sat. So I'm sitting in one chair here, and Coach Carter on the other side of me with a space in between us. And we both played for Coach Phipps, right? So Coach Phipps came back up the steps, from the locker room and sat in between both of us, put his arms up on the chairs like that, and then crossed his legs just like this, and then he said, looked around, still my gym. And we laughed so hard, man, that was just the closeness that we shared, with that coach. Just like, I guess, with my guy.